no live up on.
And we should be live. If anyone's lucky enough to be listening to two absolute amateurs trying to make a podcast work, here we are. Shall I do the intro? It's very exciting.
Yeah, do the intro.
Yeah. There it is. Oh, look at that. God, that took me 3 days. Right, here we are. So, Rich, it's wonderful to hear the dulcet tones of your voice. You came to me pitifully begging to start a podcast about 3 weeks ago, and I thought it was because you were having a midlife crisis, and I believe it's actually because you're having a midlife crisis, right?
It is, basically, yeah.
Delay.
I live with 3 women, and I never get to talk to you, so this felt like a good excuse to do that.
It's great. I mean, I don't see anyone ever listening to this, but as I said to you before, at least there's evidence of our hate crimes and thought crimes that can be used against us in the court of law later on. We've made a list of themes for our chats, so we can theme our chats for the next year. And today, the lucky topic is cults.
What did you say?
Cults.
Cult.
Don't get a strike on the first podcast, please. That's
Mate,
cult as in CULT.
Yeah, I'm really sorry. I've also got a terrible cold, so it's going to sound like I'm saying a different word quite often.
Just be careful. I don't think there's any. Well, there's nobody listening, so it doesn't really matter. But the YouTube police might come after us, and I can't deal with that. So, have you got a cult to present us with? I'm very interested in the whole concept of cults, because I think that, like, I remember when I was growing up in the 80s and the 90s, there were always a lot more serial killers and a lot more cults on the TV. I remember all of these people gathering on like farmhouses out in the middle of nowhere and just doing each other. And
I agree with you, and it was always like on the local news. For me, it was East Midlands Today, and they'd go out to like some farm, and if you were really lucky, you'd see a lady with one boob out, which is a sort of 12-year-old.
You went and spied on them. You went and spied on the cults.
No, I mean on the news, you'd see one in the background, or
right.
it'd be like a late night funny story, wouldn't it? But I agree. They did seem to be more prevalent, especially in the UK in the 80s.
Yeah,
I think there was possibly a massive cultural change around like yuppie culture, and then all of that sort of screwing up, and everyone being poor and looking to find something to live for, maybe.
Well, do you think there's less cults now because of social media? Is that you're saying that because people have got Instagram, they can't be bothered to go and sit in a field naked and do mushrooms? Actually, I think the closest thing that we have to the traditional cults of the 80s and 90s is like Burning Man Festival, which is just like posh people getting high in a field. It's kind of the same thing.
It did always seem to be the middle classes that would go to the cults, or certainly the ones that were on TV.
That's why I never joined. I was very attracted, though. I was really. It would have been so easy for them to kidnap me as a kid, because it's just like you say, you saw one boob on TV, it was like, I'm going.
Yeah, I'm in. I'm sold. I'm sold.
What is it that we're doing now? Spaceship. Oh, okay, brilliant. Yeah.
But I get what you're saying about like Burning Man and stuff. But actually, doing a bit of research, I was surprised to learn that there are 2,000 active cults in the UK, like today.
But what do they do? What are they up to?
Well, the current ones are all quite secretive. I mean, I think officially Scientology is classed as a cult over here. The legal definition of a cult is actually quite hard to pin down. In fact, I don't think there is one, but there used to be an FBI sort of 7 criteria for being a cult, but that seems to have been wiped off after Waco, which we'll get onto. But the general rule is it has to have a leader, it has to have more than 6 members, those members are required to make a financial or labour commitment to the cult, and also the leader is like omnipresent and all powerful. So what he says goes. So it's almost like a dictatorship. I say what he says. They generally end up being blokes as well. Which,
it's interesting that, because I obviously, in doing the research for this, I've changed my algorithms. So now I'm getting all of this cult stuff come up on YouTube. And I wouldn't be surprised if somebody just turns up and puts a bag over my head and drags me out to a field and makes me have sex with women and get high on mushrooms. I welcome it. If there's anyone out there listening, if you've got a cult and it involves nudity, I'm in, man. I've not got anything else on. And yeah, calendar's wide open. But I found on YouTube last night, just while I was trying to relax, I got all of this cult stuff thrown at me, and one of them was I don't know if you call it a cult though. It's have you heard of Hillsong?
Yes, massively big Netflix documentary. Love it.
It was really. I watched the whole thing last night because that got thrown at me because of the algorithm, and that was very interesting. It had the same kind of vibe, like you were saying. It hits a few of those criteria, because you've got this male figure who is attractive. He's physically attractive dude. What was his name? Kurt Lentz or something like that.
Yeah. Carl Lentz.
Carl Lentz, sorry. And
he had a wife as well.
He had a wife. Was the controversy was that he was. They call them mega churches, and it's just like church for cool kids. Like, which I think kind of goes against the principle, the traditional idea of church. You're not supposed to enjoy it. You go there. Everything's covered in dust. The books are covered in dust. The people are covered in dust. Everything's
too cold.
And you have to get these sermons thrown at you, and you're not supposed to. It's not supposed to be a joy. I don't think that's my experience of church as a kid, anyway. But yeah, they made it cool.
If a mega church is kind of the modern day cult, I mean, certainly there's mega churches that do a lot of good. I've got a friend,
yeah, for sure,
and he's actually a production manager for I think it's a mega church on an English scale. It's down in Camden, holds a few thousand people, and they do like these wicked shows and stuff. And as far as I'm aware, his wife has not been offered up as a sacrifice to the leader.
I mean, this is the missing element. This is the missing aspect from your FBI list of how to identify a cult. I think that the element of corruption is not. That's when it becomes a cult, because you can have people getting together, whatever their beliefs are, and living together on a commune or whatever, and sharing their lifestyle, living in a different way, like the Amish, for example. You wouldn't call the Amish a cult.
Well, some people would, because there's the
polyamorous
side of it, and polyamory is a big thing.
But I think that's the difference between a religious lifestyle, or a lifestyle that's structured by belief, and a cult, because the cult element it's nefarious, isn't it? It's a pejorative term. When you start talking about a cult, it means that, like you say, somebody's been sacrificed, or money's being siphoned out of people's pockets. There's always some kind of backstory where the guy in charge uses his power to manipulate his masses into either committing mass suicide or giving him all of their stuff, and they never do the same as the same thing that they demand of their followers. So, for example, like Hillsong, like he's out there preaching this life of this chaste kind of life to young people, young couples, and all of that stuff, and he's bonking all of his. It was really weird, because they had, what were they called? There's like this volunteer service, honouring. They called it honouring.
Yeah.
And it's
they always tend to make it sound like you're doing something good, especially when it comes to the act of sleeping with the leader. They always call it something
Honour
nicer. They don't say nuts. Let's just fuck. They always call it something special.
There's a terrible interview with Justin Bieber, who's he looks like he's coked out of his brain. I don't know what's going on with him, but he's with Carl, and they're acting super weird, and it's all just like you get the vibe that something's just not right there. I think that's when it all started to go downhill. It's like 6 months, 12 months after that, all of this stuff came out about him just sowing his oats, sowing his religious seed.
I think it's a really good example of a modern day one that started out like trying to do some good stuff. It has like a very fundamental Christian basis to it, which sort of has its own issues. Like they weren't great about race, they weren't great about LGBTQ plus, and they discriminated against a lot of people and passed it off as their religious beliefs. But they were still, like, for quite a while doing a lot of good. Then you get a load of celebrities in, and then the leader of it starts banging everyone. It's a pattern. It's a pattern that as we talk about a few cults, you'll see this pattern emerges in all of them, really.
Absolutely, because there is something about that status of being adored as almost like a deity figure that I think, like any human, we're not supposed to experience that level of power, and it corrupts people. Like you realize that you're hanging out with all of these famous people, you're getting, like, money doesn't exist anymore because people just give it to you, and he was there. They're all dressed very well as well. What do they call those? Prosperity Christians. The Christians that like wear Gucci jackets and all of this stuff, and it's like you're out there preaching the gospel, which is the complete opposite of that. No rich man will enter heaven, and he's saying that in a Gucci jacket.
Yeah, we'll go to the soup kitchen in our Bentleys and Mercedes.
Hold somebody's hand as they're freezing to death in the street and say, "Be strong, brother." Anyway, I've got to get off because Justin Bieber's meeting me in the Tiger Lounge or whatever those bars are called. Got to do some shots with JB. But yeah, it's one thing that it reminds me of is the adoration. The kind of there's always, like you say, or there's usually a male figure, a masculine figure that has like a harem. Lots of women that are worshipping him, and I can definitely see the attraction of that. Have you got a segue?
I think that's a good segue into. So I picked my top 3 favourite cults, which all but one end in disaster. So can we have a look at Waco? And talking of good-looking men, David Koresh.
Bring him up. Here he is.
So David Koresh was a guy who had sort of grown up in quite a traumatized household. There's allegations of sexual abuse against him, and then he became a sort of bit of a traveling musician. If anyone wants to have a look for David Koresh playing guitar, he looks a lot like Brian May, sort of, which was probably attractive in the 70s, but we're talking about sort of the late 90s or early 90s, 1993. So he was a little bit out of touch, but for a lot of people, he was a very attractive and enigmatic man. And he actually joined the Branch Davidians, which is what this sort of religious sect was, which was an offshoot of a larger one called the Seventh-day Adventists, which still exist a bit today. And they had a leader at the time. What was his name? I think it was I forget. Sorry, it's gone from. But there was a couple who were running this sort of branch, and David Koresh sort of came in and became their disciple. The Rodens. Sorry, it was Benjamin Roden, and
that's his actual name. His name is Roden.
Ben Roden. Yeah.
Oh, Roden. I thought you were saying rodent. It's because of your horrific cold.
Without a T. But it was him and his wife who were running this, and it was all dead nice. It was like people lived there, but there weren't that many. There were like around 50 people that lived there. They had a big plot of land, which was dead nice, and they grew their own food, and they'd go.
It always starts out like that. It sounds great. I mean, like all living together, growing your own food, brilliant. So, what was it that made whatever happened? I mean, in the image, there's just a giant burning mass of corpses, I suppose. I don't know what that is that's on fire.
There's a few years between that, but pretty quickly it got weird. So Ben Roden, who was like the original guy, he died in 1978, and David Koresh hooked up with his 68-year-old widow, and started banging her because Jesus told him to.
It's always Jesus. It's either Jesus or Buddha with these guys.
Jesus said you should give her a child, which at 68 years old was always going to be a bit difficult. So eventually they didn't have a child, and she died, probably from all the aggressive sexual activity.
Yeah.
I'd imagine. Like,
you can tell by the glasses that he's wearing that it's going to go that way. Why do they always, these serial killers and cult members, they always expose themselves by having the same glasses? I don't know if they buy them from the same store or whatever, but like Dharma had a pair of glasses like that. Actually, I don't want to put him in the same category, but the Hillsong dude had the same pair of glasses as well. I think people should be looking out. Hang on a minute. Have you got glasses like that? I knew it.
You're such a knob. I mean, I'd be an amazing cult leader, but we'll get onto that later. So anyway, she dies. He takes over the whole thing, gets loads more people in. And for a long time, they're doing all right. But then, like, a lot of money starts coming in. The more people that come in, the more money is given to the church. I mean, all churches used to do this thing called tithing, where it's like you've got to give a certain percentage of your income to the church. But in cults, they forget about that percentage. Just say, give us all of it.
Take everything, yeah.
So that started happening. Then he started marrying all the women of the sort of every woman who was on there. But again, that you can sort of excuse with, you know, polyamory and that sort of thing, and that happens in a lot of religions. It was around this time that he started stockpiling weapons.
I mean, that's a key indicator of. I mean, you've got
spirituality.
It doesn't really gel with the whole "let's live on a farm and be self-sustaining" kind of vibe.
Yeah, and it was a weird way he got caught. Like, he used to get like weapons sent in the post, and the postman, who didn't live on the compound, who was just like a guy who lived down the road, was just getting really pissed off with all his heavy parcels every day. And one day he sort of looked at it and went, I don't think they should have like automatic machine guns, and reported them to the ATF.
Never piss off the postie. There's certain people that you need on your side in life, and if it's somebody that's in control of your mail, I have the same problem because I live over here in Spain. And I have to be very, very nice to my postie because I get random Brexit charges when you post me stuff. Actually,
when I post you crap,
literal crap, like that lamp that you made out of epoxy with a piece of your dog's shit inside it. Thanks.
We might have to put that on the channel at some point. That is the greatest gift ever given.
Yeah. I beg to differ. So what happened in the end with this guy? Why is everything on fire?
As well as the postman's keeping on your side, you need the American government to stay on your side.
Learned that from Narcos.
They wanted to raid the place because of all these guns and stuff, because they didn't want someone to have the arsenal of a small country. And when they did, rather than be all peaceful and that, they walked up and the Branch Davidians started shooting the FBI, which then led to the longest, at the time, I think it was the longest sort of standoff in American history between the government and another organisation. It lasted something crazy, like 90 days or something, 78 days maybe. And eventually, the ATF and the FBI had enough, and they just stormed it, and the whole place set on fire. And the dude wouldn't let anyone out. So, basically 79 people burnt to death. When really they could have just been let out. A few years ago, the FBI released a lot of the tapes from the negotiator, and it was quite interesting because David Koresh sort of was like, I've never said I'm Jesus. I mean, he actually had said that quite often, but he goes, it does feel a bit like 2,000 years ago. Like the excuse me, the government having a go at a guy who's leading a group of people, and they got
I don't
close
think that Jesus had an AK-47. He's might be slightly embellishing on the. I don't think he's read the Bible. That guy. Look at him. Look at his face.
He sort of found his own version of the Bible, which should have been another warning sign, really. So everybody died. And then there were a few survivors, and then it came out he was basically a paedophile as well, and having sex with underage girls, which is another common theme with the male-led cults. Quite sad, really. And the few that did survive, like there's lots of documentaries about it, but the few that did survive, they go back to the hill where it was all. I mean, they seem quite sad about it all being over, really, especially ones that were born and raised there. So he definitely had some power over people.
It's just Stockholm syndrome, isn't it? I suppose if you've been raised by a supposed deity, you've been brainwashed from the outset, then it's probably quite difficult to deprogram people. I mean, if it's not really deprogramming, is it? Because if you're programmed from the outset, that is your foundational programming. Like at least
that's your core value. That's your core belief, isn't it? It's.
But I think his biggest mistake was marrying more than one woman. Like, why would you even do that? That's a dumb move. Like, it's hard enough just maintaining the one relationship. I think it all seems to go downhill when they have more than one wife on the go, and then they just get power hungry.
Yeah, I think there's an argument for that, but honestly, I think his biggest mistake was pissing off the US government. So
you got to grease the right palms. Talking about palms, I'm now going to tell you about a completely different type of cult based on feet, which is like the palm of your leg, you could say. Look at that. So this guy started a cult called, which I am most definitely going to mispronounce now, but I don't care. They were called Hona Hana Sanpogyo.
Yeah, I think you got that right. Is that Spanish?
No, it's Japanese, and basically it was this dude that he was working. I can't remember. He was working in insurance or something. He had a really normal, a really ordinary life, and then he started writing about spirituality, and his books got picked up, and what was his name? His name was I will tell you in a second. I've completely forgotten. I've got to look it up again. It was founded by His Holiness Hogan Fukunaga.
Oh, Hogan! I'm into this.
Yeah,
no, anything to do with Hogan.
Yeah, Hogan with an E. Fukunaga, okay. And it was about basically fortune telling. And guess who he thought he was the reincarnation of?
Jesus.
Yeah, and Buddha. He was he was reincarnation of Jesus and Buddha. Very interesting. I don't know how they inhabited the same Japanese guy, but he would charge about $900 to manhandle people's feet, And through the process of his massage, and it's like reading tea leaves or reading your palm, like I said, but he would read the base of your foot, and he would determine your future. Basically, he was a fortune teller, and he's just swindled a load of people. This is in 1980. He started off preaching that he was Christ and Buddha, and then he started saying that he could tell people their future, and he got how much was it? I can't remember. Was it like 500 million yen? But I can't remember how much that was in dollars.
I'm just looking. I mean, 150,000. No, 20. Oh, no, 500 million quid.
Yeah,
he netted from it apparently. Jesus.
But he became. I wouldn't say reputable, but he got a reputation to the point that he was allowed to have an audience with Gorbachev. You remember Gorbachev?
Yeah, man, I miss it.
Pope John Paul II, President Clinton.
Clinton would have been into feet.
Yeah, for sure. I bet he probably taught him a few things.
Yeah.
Hey, if you pull the middle toe, you can make a woman spill milk out of her ears. Yeah. Margaret Thatcher. Old Maggie.
Yeah, I'm just looking at an article. And Mother Teresa.
Mother Teresa, yeah. Dirty old Terry.
I bet she had awful feet as well, Mother Teresa.
Undoubtedly.
Look at her face. Imagine her face all weathered and that. And then imagine how much worse her feet must have been.
That's a good point. I think her feet were probably quite similar to her face.
Oh.
But it was just really unusual how he was able to garner that amount of trust and respect and interest from people of high power positions, intelligent people with their own followings. But yeah, he was. Eventually, he got quite aggressive. I think with the way that he was trying to get money off of things. You can just imagine, like you're a housewife, and this guy comes around, knocks on your door, and says, "Hi, I've come to read your feet." He's like, I don't really. I'm not really. Yeah, look, listen. If you don't let me in now, bad things are going to happen to you. And then he started massaging people's feet. Their husbands had come home. He's like, "What are you doing?"
Imagine going around to his house though, and you knock on the door and he goes, "Oh, come in. Take your shoes off." "Oh no, I'd rather leave them on." "Take your shoes off. Get them off now, and your socks. You dirty bitch."
I see in your future a donation to my cause. But yeah, it was the same kind of thing. Not with just Hillsong, but this idea that they get to a position of power, and he started wearing all of these expensive clothes, and he started spending, like, splashing his money all over the place, and people started asking questions, especially since his fortune telling was rubbish, and nothing that he said to anyone, it's just a lie after lie, and I suppose there's only a certain amount of time you can get away with that. In the end, he got 12 years in prison. And he had to pay a lot of the money back that he'd squandered off people for fraud.
It seems like it's a case of fraud, isn't it? He didn't make anyone kill themselves or anything, did he? He was just a guy who was into feet and liked getting paid for it, who happened to also be a reincarnation of both Christ.
I'll just add,
and Buddha.
Well, you say that, but he might still be on manslaughter charges because of, and this is incredibly vague, he might be on manslaughter charges because of the deaths of 4 of his recruits who died during, now this is the sentence that I don't really, it is surprising and confusing in equal measures, during rigorous initiation rites at Mount Fuji.
Wow, okay.
So I don't know what that means. I don't know if they got bummed to death, or it was like a really, really hardcore foot massage that ended with them losing their lives.
It could have just been like running up and down Mount Fuji, but barefoot.
Yeah,
like that's gonna do you in, isn't it? But wow,
twisted ankle.
he's still not very high up on the evil scale.
No, there's a bit of a soft one because I knew that you were going to come in hard with some guy that had burnt a load of people or whatever. So I thought, let's just put a soft option in there. You know,
well, if you're ready to move on,
absolutely.
Let's have a look at Jonestown, man.
You see, this is one that everybody knows.
The People's Temple was, well, it started off as a church. In the US, it was a guy, Jim Jones. Never trust a guy who has the same initial for first and last name. It's Hulk Hogan, Brad Bradshaw, all these people, terrible people.
Yeah.
But yeah, it started off in Indiana, in quite a poor part of Indianapolis. And he was a white guy who went out into sort of primarily black hoods, I suppose you'd call them. He was very sort of enigmatic. And again, it started so well. He was setting up this church. He was feeding people, homing people, getting people off drugs, and it was all going pretty well. And then in the early '60s, he went on a visit to I can never say this. Is it Guyana or Guyana? I don't think it matters, does
Ghana?
it? No, Ghana's different.
Is it?
Yeah.
What letters are in it?
Guyana.
Oh right, yeah. Guana.
Yeah. Which at the time, I think back then it was still a British territory, wasn't it? In the '60s, I believe. And he decided that he should take his church and all move out there because he believed it was a sort of promised land. All video evidence suggests it was shit, even in comparison to the incredibly deprived ghettos of Indianapolis. There was nothing there. There was no infrastructure. The government was bent as anything. But yeah, for whatever reason, he decided that would be the place to go. And so they up and left. Nearly 1,000 of them. I mean, the numbers went up and down, but and they established this place out there. I mean, that has got to be that's a big commitment, isn't it, Ben?
I'm very easily led, and again, look at the glasses. This is follow my personal rule. There's something about guys that are very, what would you say, adventurous with their eyewear. There's something else going on there. I don't think people should be that confident about wearing glasses like that.
Well, he looks a bit like Elvis, and he spoke a lot like Elvis. He had a sort of lot of the mannerisms. He had a similar haircut. He had big sideburns.
But he's wrapped in tweed. It kind of it loses a few cool points there for the blazer, for the jacket, surely. But to answer your question, would I go? Yeah. Why? I'm up for anything. I don't know. It's very easy to convince me. This is why I can't remember my 20s. But I think you were there for most of it. I don't know. I can't remember. But
maybe you were under my spell. Maybe that was it. So 500 of them went out and started to build this little sort of town, and it was a lot of sort of prefab houses. The Guyanese government were dead happy to have them there because it was bringing some money in. I mean, they weren't the richest of the cults by all accounts, but it was it was seen as a good thing for the country to get a load of English speaking people over there. And hopefully improve some economy. So basically, they let him crack on and do whatever they wanted, really. And then, sort of a bit later, in the mid to late 70s, loads more people went out, and it was just under 1,000 people. which were living there at the time. So a lot of people bought into it. It was again like looking at the stats after the thing that happened. It was a predominantly black population and predominantly female, which later accounts suggest that black women was something that he was sort of into.
That's just a guy following his dreams. I mean, to this point, I don't think he's done anything wrong. It sounds great. If I could do that, I'd do it.
Yeah, all right. So far,
if I could convince a load of Latinas to come and live on a farm with me, I mean, what's wrong with that? That's not illegal, is it? I mean, it's always the next step that gets you in trouble. But I don't think there's anything wrong with a charismatic guy with his own risky eyewear and tweed suit convincing a load of women to come and live on a farm with him.
Well, I think one of this guy's biggest problems was making it too big. If he'd have settled at 500, he might have got away with what happened next. Basically, he had so many people there. A lot of people back in the US were like, "Oh shit, where's Sarah? We've not seen her for ages," and went to like their local governors and like their local politicians, and sort of made a load of complaints that they thought their kids and wives and family members had been taken against their will off to this place which they called Georgetown. Yeah, so a politician went out on a sort of fact-finding mission with a load of the families of the people that were staying there, and that's sort of where it all went wrong. They went in, they were invited in, it was all nice, it was all lovely. They were shown the school, they were shown like all the farming and all of this, and it was all going great. And then as they were leaving, the politician was handed a note by one of the members saying, like, "We're being held here against our will, please let us get out of here." So that sort of put the shits up him a little bit. He was a dead famous politician. I can't bloody remember what his name was.
Nigel Farage?
No, it wasn't him. No. But they all went back to the airport discussing this note. Whoa.
What? They left? They just left?
They left. Because there were
if somebody hands you a note saying
40 of them and 1,000 of these Jonestown guys, but what even worse?
You're discussing the note. I mean, if somebody hands you a note saying "Please help, I'm being held here against my will,"
go back to the States and come back out.
They're going to get on a plane. Why? They're not even going to call anyone. They're just going to get on a plane and go home.
It was the 70s. There weren't mobile phones and shit. But worse than this, someone who was high up in the cult saw this person hand the note. So then the leaders of the cult realised, oh shit, they know that we're keeping them against their will. And they sort of legged it after them, shot them all at the airport, shot the politician, shot the news crews, shot all these people, which was pretty awful. And then went back where
I mean, what's the end game there? If you're going to just go into an airport and just mow a load of people down, like, do you think that's going to? They'll probably not come back. That's probably the end of that. We can just carry on with, just get on with what we're doing.
Well, this is something Jim Jones was lacking. He had no end plan. It wasn't we're all going off into space. He just
wanted a farm full of women.
Yeah, I think literally you just got drunk on power, really. Anyway, so they go back to the compound. Jim Jones goes, "Oh fuck, we've screwed this now. I've had a sign. We should do a mass suicide." And yeah, over 900 people died in that, man, which was a
Yeah, there's a horrific aerial image of that I'm not going to show, but you did pass me. It's just that there's a load of corpses. I mean, I know about the Jonestown Massacre because of the Brian Jonestown Massacre, the band that got their inspiration from it. They used the name of Brian Jones, the original vocalist, multi what's the word I'm looking for? Multi-instrumentalist from the original Rolling Stones lineup, who got murdered, got drowned in his pool by his builder, Brian Jones. But you know that's have you ever seen that documentary? It's about the Dandy Warhols. Do you remember the Dandy Warhols?
No.
They did that song "Heroin Is So Passé."
Oh, okay, yeah.
That was a big hit in the 90s.
Yeah.
They were coming up at the same time as the Brian Jonestown Massacre. I learnt about Brian Jones through that because I looked it up one day because I didn't really know. I didn't experience it when it was happening or when it was in the news. When did you say it was? It was in the 60s, right?
70s, late 70s, yeah.
Well, in addition, I think it's one of the two origins of the phrase "Don't drink the Kool-Aid."
Yeah, that's the real sad thing, man. It was like there's tapes of this, and the kids, because there were a lot of children there, which is like really sad. You know, they had no choice in this, and you can hear him saying, "Put more sugar in the Kool-Aid."
Yeah.
The kids won't drink it if it's bitter. You know, and that's the real sad.
But
bit,
he went finishing people off with a shotgun, as I understand. He was like,
well, he actually got finished off by one of the other like leaders. Shot him. But yeah, he instructed some of his trusted people to go around shooting people, and then a lot of them just went, "Ah, fuck," and buggered off into the jungle, never to be seen again. Because they weren't accounted for. So
So just like I feel like any large group of people can become a cult. Like it can go in a bad direction as soon as one person is entrusted or empowered too much. They get blinded by their position, by their hold over others. I mean, that's probably the saddest one though so far, the Jonestown Massacre, because like you say, he was just trying to live the dream of having a farm full of women, and still I think that's most people still share that vision. But it just went wrong. It went wrong when the feds, when the government tried to take it away from him. He's trying to live his dream. They tried to take away his dream, and everyone ended up dead. And that's very sad.
Well, again, the US government are a recurring theme in this, aren't they?
That's the second time the government's intervened and ruined what could be described as paradise. Unfortunately, it's just paradise for one person. Everyone else that's there is there against their will. Brian Jones, there he is. The other, just to finish what I was saying, the other origin of drinking the Kool-Aid comes from the Beat generation in the 50s, right? When they all used to do the electric acid tests, they used to put acid in the Kool-Aid, and that was the original. And then it got a more negative connotation through the Jonestown situation.
I wonder what happened to Kool-Aid. Is Kool-Aid now Gatorade, or is Kool-Aid still?
No, I think Kool-Aid's still quite a big brand in the US. I think. Huh. I mean, if you can come back from a massacre. A mass poisoning, then you've got a solid brand. Literally, like the phrase that was going around in the 70s is "Don't drink the Kool-Aid," and people were still drinking Kool-Aid. So there you go, America. Anyway, I like it just because you're bringing a lot of down vibes.
Lighten it up with some more.
I'll tell you how I lighten it up. I'll lighten it up with some Prince Philip.
No.
There he is. Look. It's the Prince
Philip.
There's
not a Prince Philip cult.
There's a Prince Philip cult. They were well sad when he died. They were absolutely devastated.
It's just this funny island.
Yeah, it's the Vanuatu tribe. That this is, to be fair to Prince Philip, and he is probably the only person on our list that didn't manipulate and coerce people into seeing him as a deity. They did it themselves.
How did it start?
He visited the island, and they had just never seen someone of his stature. This is a long time ago in the 70s, so I mean, you remember that, like, for the last maybe 20, maybe 25 years of his life, he was already dead. He's like a walking corpse. He
does look like a vampire, doesn't he?
It got really bad towards the end, but in the 70s, I suppose that he was still cutting something of a dashing form, and he ended up on this island. I can't remember why. To be perfectly honest with you, I've not done a lot of research. I've just downloaded this image of a man holding a picture of him in front of a hut. That's the extent of my research. He went there in the 70s, and he became. I think it was part of the colonies. It was an island that was part of the colonies. That's right. And he went and he met the tribe chief. He was doing one of his tours. And you know what he's like. You know what he was like.
He'd say the wrong thing a lot. Some people might accuse him of being a racist.
Some people might say that. But yeah, he would always blurt out these things, and I don't know. Maybe they were charmed by his directness, and I don't know. But they saw him as literally being the embodiment of a living deity. They thought he was a god. I'm
wondering if this qualifies as a cult or not, or whether this is just there's a load of guys fanboying.
It's a little bit stronger than fanboy. I think it was part of their culture to have living deities. And they believed that when he came to visit, they believed that he was like a descendant, a recycled spirit of their descendant. Yeah, it's literally a recycled.
He was into
descendant.
recycling, wasn't he? Yeah, he loved all that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, every time. No, I was going to make a joke there that I was not politically correct.
Leave it.
But yeah, they do all this dancing and stuff, and he loved going there because I think that if somebody assumes that you are a living god, that you should just lean into it. Like if that happened to you, for example, if you went and visited Hull, they're all a bit backwards in Hull. Like if you went to Hull, they'd probably be like, "Oh my God, we'd never seen anything like it," and maybe they'd start worshipping you. Would you not take advantage of that situation and have a go on a few?
Yeah, of course.
Hullites, is that what they call people?
A long time ago, I went to Hong Kong and then over to mainland China, and this place Shenzhen, it's called. It's like everything is made there, and it's like it's just a big factory. It's like a city, but it's like a massive factory. And my partner at the time, her company were building some stuff out there. And do you remember when I had hair then? I had like
no.
Quite long blonde hair, and like local.
Hang on a minute, blonde. The best thing about you going bald is that you don't have ginger hair anymore.
Okay, right. Well, even better.
Well, don't try and cover up your past.
I'd probably bleached it.
Embrace it.
Yeah, but yeah, I had like just not hundreds. That'd be an exaggeration, but tens of Chinese women following me, wanting to touch me, and I let them touch me. It wasn't the kind of touching I was hoping for, but yeah, I felt a bit like, I don't know if I felt like a deity or a celebrity, but either way, it felt nice, and I'd like it to happen again. I would.
It's all downhill from there. You only really get one deity experience in your lifetime, and if it doesn't end up with a farm full of dead people, then you've done it wrong.
You've wasted.
You can't go back. You've wasted your deity opportunity. You should have lured them all to some outcrop and says,
I think they'd already been lured to that giant factory in China.
I'm not very good at luring. Maybe that's why I haven't got my own cult, because I can't lure. I'd never make a good fisherman, for example. I just can't. The people
But-
meet me and they want to. They want to go away. It's the opposite of being a cult leader. They
I mean,
can't stand being near me.
I have thought about it. Like me and Sharon, my partner, obviously you've met her. Yeah, she's a sort of therapist, and or a trained psychotherapist, like much more qualified than me. But I'm a little bit trained in psychotherapy, and at some point we've said that we'd like to do something like a retreat somewhere, and we've been talked about it ever since we met, really.
You want to start your own cult? This is what you're telling me.
Well, that's what she worries about. And so when we came over to see you, Ben lives in Zaragoza, which is a very sort of Catholic place. That's fair to say, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it's got a cathedral the size of, I don't know, Nottingham. It's massive,
Non-practicing Catholics. Yeah. Anyway, go on.
Okay. But opposite that cathedral is a TK Maxx for priests. It's like a priest shop, isn't it? It's like Wilko's for the Roman Catholic
Because they're
Church.
weird. Because you know that episode of Father Ted where they talk about buying they have a special shop for priest socks because they have to be very, 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 very black. Not just you can't just get a pair of black. If you buy a pair of black socks from, I don't know, Asda, George, they might be very black or slightly off navy, but you need the really black ones.
And this shop is where they come from, is it?
Yeah, yes, the source of the joke.
But me and Sharon went into that shop. I don't think you were there, and they had a sail rail. Like it was literally like M&S, but it must have been like last season's colours or whatever of these quite ornate robes. And I was looking through them, and Sharon just grabbed me by the shirt and pulled me out and told me that I'm not allowed to be a cult leader and I'm not allowed to buy any robes in advance. But,
I've never thought about it in my life before, but now that you mention it, I really want a robe. I'd love a robe, a good robe.
I think,
Imagine going like that swish, like when you go around a corner and you just kind of swish it out a little bit.
Be very hot where you live. Very hot.
Not if you're not wearing anything underneath it.
Oh yeah, that would be quite freeing, I imagine. But that's where priests get in trouble, isn't it? For not wearing anything underneath.
Where does a cult start? I think it starts with risky eyewear or risky clothing choices. A robe could lead to cultism, yeah, for sure.
Well, my last cult, have we got time to look at my favourite?
Yeah, go on, stick it in. What is it?
Okay, Australian Jesus.
Aussie Jesus.
Aussie Jesus. Need I say more, really?
There's a close-up photo of it. You gave me these two images. There's a close-up of him, and there's almost exactly the same photo, just slightly panned out with him next to... I don't know really why you wanted the second one.
Well, the second
what is the
one.
purpose?
So the first photo is this guy lives in Australia. He was 27, turned 27, woke up, and like this documentary is the best one ever. It's set it's a 3-part documentary, and it's set over a period of about 6 years. So the first photo is this guy wakes up on his 27th birthday. I'm not very good at accents, but he goes, "Fuck me." Turns out I'm fucking Jesus.
Strike rich.
And he wakes up and discovers that he's actually Jesus.
How do you discover that? How is it like there is a physical? Like,
I don't think anything changed. I don't know if he didn't
was
have
shorter.
any stigmata or anything. I think his hair might have grown a bit.
So basically, he didn't cut his hair, and he discovered that he was Jesus through.
Yeah, he hadn't shaved for a few days, and he bought some flip flops, and he must have had a really heavy night on his birthday. Waking up the next day, just pilled out of his mind, baby. I don't know,
but it sounds to me like he didn't want to go to work. You wake up, like you say, you've had a heavy session, so I can't come in today. I'm Jesus, actually, so I'll not be coming in anymore, thank you.
I mean, I believe he did quit his job, but again, it started so
Well,
nice, right?
Jesus,
And
that's quite accurate because Jesus quit his job when he discovered he was Jesus.
what was his job previous?
He was a carpenter. It's the most
No,
famous
that was his
story.
dad. That was his dad.
No, he was a carpenter. Are you
Was
kidding
he?
me right now?
Oh,
Oh
then
my
someone told.
goodness.
I thought he was just Jesus from birth. Oh
I
God,
mean, he was. They didn't. He did get bothered by some angels when he was younger, and they were like, "Seriously, dude,
fucking
like things."
angels!
I know he's
Piss
just
off!
coming in,
I'm
just
carpeting.
and he was
Oh,
just, "Oh, leave me
carpenting.
alone." And then they kind of just left him alone for a while, and he spent like at least 20 years of his life just building. So I'd like to know if he was any good. He might have been like really bad at it, but that would
Well,
be. I think that would make the story more interesting if we knew more about how bad he was at being a carpenter. But
this guy, I believe, mowed lawns, and that is the job that he quit when he discovered he was Jesus. So, maybe slightly less skilled, but it helped. It helped in his future endeavour because part one of the documentary, I woke up. Turns out I'm fucking Jesus.
Yeah.
So I go around, I mow people's lawns for nothing. I pick up litter every now and again. I tell them a bit about the Bible if they're wanting to hear about it, and got some mates now. Got some mates who come around with me. Happens to be 12 of them. Don't read too much into that. but yeah, there's 12 of them. So we go around, do nice things for people, and mow lawns, and if they let us, we tell them about the Bible. Sounds great so far.
Yeah, it's good. When does he get his farm full of women?
Well, part two of the documentary, let's call it year 3 of the cult, is where the
Year
second
3.
picture...
That's interesting because Jesus and the apostles hit the road for 3 years after he quit his job.
Your religious knowledge is surprisingly good.
I do know about the Bible. But then obviously it terminates with him being crucified. So tell me what happens next. Does this guy get nailed to a cross?
The second picture there is where we open part 2 of the documentary. He goes, "Yeah, I'm still Australian Jesus. G'day.
You flaming galah."
Then it pans out to this lady who has woken up and realised she's Mary Magdalene. Jesus is on off again. Prostitute girlfriend, allegedly.
God, don't you hate it when that happens? It's like...
he's thinking, I got rid of her 2,000 years ago. But,
she's back.
No, she's back. She's still riddled with STIs, and she's found me in Australia. Shit. I was going to have some fun, but no. And this is where it starts getting weird. When you listen to her speak, she obviously has like some quite serious mental health issues, and really, really needs treating. And he's blatantly taken advantage. The 12 mates have now moved on to a compound with a big fence around it,
obviously, and
brought their families. By the end of episode 2, so by the end of year 4, he's married all their wives, as well as his
I saw it coming.
Riddled prostitute. And
why does it always follow the same formula? There must be something written about this that it's the same template every time. The only person who's escaped this formula so far in our list is Prince Philip. He's the most innocent person on our list,
as far as we know. Then,
I mean, I'm talking exclusively about cultism here. So, yeah. What else he's been up to?
Final episode, years 5 and 6, opens. He's being investigated for child sex offences again.
Is he?
But on a brighter note, in a way, possibly, these child sex offences were proven to be illegitimate accusations in a court of law. Which technically makes him innocent of anything like that. And him and Mary Magdalene sort of disbanded the compound without anyone dying, and go around now doing sort of positive talks about the Bible.
Oh my god! So they're still active. People
still
are still
active,
okay,
and still fucking mental. But people buy into it.
Strike me pink.
People look for something to believe in, don't they? And,
so maybe we can wind up with trying to just psychoanalyze these people and their followers to some extent. Mm-hmm. I think the followers is pretty obvious that they target people they don't even target them. I think people are drawn towards things that are vaguely spiritual or that offer answers to questions that they don't have the answer to. People that are usually troubled, that have had... It's terrible, isn't it? Even as I'm thinking it out loud, they probably have previously experienced trauma, and then they end up on a farm getting poisoned with Kool-Aid or whatever. But I think that they are... maybe it's their lifestyle or there's something. I mean, we've not been lured into a cult yet, although I think it would be very easy to take me. But
yeah, it's probably for another episode. But I've in life been involved with some groups that some people have referred to as a bit cultish, and I can sort of understand where that comes from, and that's for another episode. But I think it's organisations or individuals taking advantage of people in their most vulnerable state.
Yeah.
When you're proper down and out, leave anything if they tell you that it's going to make your life better. You'll fuck off to the other side of the planet if they convince you that it's going to make your life better.
Yeah. And living on a farm. That's quite attractive to me. Jeez, I don't like I say, I'd do it for a free
You can
business.
live on a farm and not be a cult member. You just like our friend James lives on a farm, basically.
Yeah, but I mean, this is it. I'd do the first part without really much convincing, but then when things started getting a little bit too much, you've got to marry. You've got to give me your wife, or you've got to drink this fizzing liquid. If things get a little bit dodgy, I just leave. Although obviously, as you explained, a lot of the time they couldn't. I like the idea of living on a farm. It's great. It's like you say. It's just it starts off so well, and then people just get consumed by their power, and it always ends horrifically. Do you think
in terms of the leaders, they're all narcissists, aren't they? They're all attention seeking. They're all quite enigmatic, quite charismatic, and that's appealing to a lot of people.
I think it's the nature. I think the cult has been I wouldn't say it's been killed, but the nature of the cult has been transformed by social media and access to technology.
Yeah,
because I think that people are like manipulated and lured in the kind of way that you could describe as cultish behaviour nowadays. Yeah. But I haven't heard any examples maybe in the last 10 years. I'm probably wrong, but in the last 10, 15 years, there's not been many kind of examples of people moving onto a farm and then a mass suicide or a mass killing or anything. It doesn't seem to end in a horrifically violent terminal way.
No, it
nowadays.
Tends to end in veganism and mindfulness.
So I don't understand why this happens so much in the 70s and 80s. I guess that it's just a different culture. People were just maybe they were searching for something more. So maybe they were more vulnerable. I don't know. They were maybe these people nowadays just get an Instagram account.
Well, maybe people are more sceptical now. I've got a very Christian friend, and I discussed like David Koresh with him, and I said, what if David Koresh was the second coming? And we're all just so sceptical, but no one believed it, and we've all fucked it, And I'm wrong, because I don't believe in that sort of thing.
Obviously, you don't know anything about the Bible as you've demonstrated, but that's exactly what happened the first time. So the first coming, the Jews didn't believe that he was the Messiah, and they said, "No, get out of it," and had him executed. And then the temple collapsed.
My friend's answer to this was, "He's not coming back in human form." And I said,
Was he going to be a mist?
Well, I thought if he's like a 60-foot pink stuffed rabbit that can fire lasers out of its eyes, people are gonna have to pay attention.
Maybe
if you're just a guy with questionable eyewear and a bad haircut that can play guitar, there's loads of them.
They're all over the place. Don't trust them.
Yeah,
I know. It's maybe he's come back as the internet or something more abstract.
Who knows?
Then you'll be in trouble because I've seen your search history. Terrible, disgusting. Right, I think on that note we should probably wrap it up. And
that's cult sorted.
The final question would be, if we were to start our own cult, or indeed should we start our own cult, and are there any women out there, exclusively Latinas, that would like to come and live on a farm? I'm up for it, and I've not got anything on. In my calendar, I'm wearing clothes, but we'll talk about that later on anyway.
We need an episode on dating, Ben.
Yeah, that's coming up. I can use this as a self-help platform. Right, I'm going to do the outro, which is the same as the intro.
Nice, lovely talking to you, buddy.
Yes, I love you. Bye.
Bye.